They never hit you. They never starved you. They showed up to every school event and made sure you had everything you needed. So why do you struggle to set boundaries? Why does asking for help feel like weakness? Why do you feel guilty for simply having needs? The answer isn't about what your parents did wrong. It's about what they were never emotionally mature enough to do right. Listen to all 8 signs, count how many feel familiar, and drop your number in the comments. Some of these are going to hit harder than you expect. Sign 1. You came home crying. Maybe a friend hurt you. Maybe something scared you. And instead of asking what happened, they said, "Stop crying. It's not that serious." Not because they were heartless, but because your pain activated something in them that they didn't know how to handle. Emotionally immature parents treat a child's emotions the way someone treats a smoke alarm. The goal isn't to find the fire. The goal is to make the noise stop. The lesson that sticks: your feelings are a disturbance, so you learn to swallow them before anyone notices. 20 years later, someone asks, "Are you okay?" And your automatic answer is, "I'm fine," even when you're falling apart. Sign 2. When they were happy, everything was light. When they were stressed, every room got smaller. You didn't check the weather in the morning. You checked their face. Children in these homes develop emotional radar that most adults don't have. You could read a room before you could read a sentence. But here's what nobody tells you about that skill. It wasn't empathy, it was surveillance. You were scanning for threats, not connecting with people. It follows you into every relationship where you quietly monitor someone's tone, looking for the shift, because you still believe it's your job to prevent the storm. Sign 3. You tried to tell them something that mattered to you, a fear, a failure, a small victory you were proud of. And within 1 or 2 sentences, the spotlight moved. That reminds me of when You think that's bad? Let me tell you what happened to me. It wasn't cruelty, it was capacity. They didn't have the emotional room to hold your experience alongside their own. You became someone who apologizes before speaking, who shrinks their stories to make room for other people's, who quietly decided, somewhere along the way, that what you feel probably isn't important enough to take up space. Sign 4. Good grades, warm hugs, bad grades, silence. Love wasn't a constant, it was a transaction. The lesson: you are only lovable when you're performing. It's why you overwork and can't rest without guilt. It's why you panic when someone loves you for no reason. Because love without conditions doesn't feel safe. It feels like a mistake that's about to be corrected. If even one of these made you pause, stay. The next 4 signs are the ones that hide the deepest, and most people don't recognize them until someone finally puts them into words. If this is that moment for you, subscribe. We name the patterns that shape you. Sign 5. The first time you said no or set a limit, it wasn't met with respect. It was met with guilt. After everything I've done for you. They can't separate a boundary from a rejection. Your need for space feels like abandonment. So you learned to keep the peace by never drawing a line. And you carried that habit into adulthood, letting people cross lines you clearly see. Sign 6. At some point, the roles quietly reversed. You became the one they vented to, the one who mediated their arguments, the one who calmed them down. Psychologists call this parentification. From the outside, it looks like maturity, so responsible for your age. But what they were really seeing was a child who had no choice. You're the person everyone leans on, and the person who has no idea how to lean on anyone else. Sign 7. You never heard them say, "I don't know." You never saw them cry and explain why. You never watched them admit a mistake without turning it into someone else's fault. Vulnerability wasn't modeled, it was avoided. You internalized a rule that no one ever said out loud: being open is being weak. So you perform strength, you handle everything alone. When someone gets close enough to see the real you, something inside tightens. Sign 8. You started reading about these patterns. Maybe you went to therapy. Maybe you started setting boundaries for the first time. And instead of feeling free, you felt like a traitor. Because outgrowing the emotional level of your parents feels like an accusation. That guilt is the final echo of the system you grew up in. Recognizing where they fell short isn't blame. It's the beginning of not passing the same patterns to the next person who trusts you. Most emotionally immature parents weren't villains. They weren't trying to damage you. They were people who were never given the emotional tools they were supposed to hand down to you. They raised you with what they had. And what they had wasn't enough for the invisible parts. The people-pleasing, the guilt, the emotional armor. Those aren't who you are. They're what you built to survive. And the fact that you're here, listening to this, trying to understand it, that's proof that the cycle can stop with you. How many did you count? Drop your number below. If this puts something into words you've been carrying for a long time, send it to someone who needs to hear it. New videos every week. Subscribe.